All right, you guys, welcome back. Let's go ahead and get started today. It's Friday. Let's let a few people come into the show before we go ahead and get started. Just to let you know, I took a look at a show yesterday called, not a show, I'm sorry. Let me start over here. A movie called Velvet Buzzsaw. Now, I wasn't expecting to watch this movie because it's just not in the genre that I'm accustomed to looking at. And it was actually had some actors in it I don't particularly like. But we've been delving into this meme of this buzzsaw, haven't we? And I thought, okay, there's actually a movie called Velvet Buzzsaw, so it's probably something I need to take a look at. Now, what is this buzzsaw meme that we discovered? Well, it's all about the ritual shaving of heads. And the way this all came about was that we started looking into this whole alopecia thing going on, and the Oscars, and Jada Pinkett Smith, and zombies losing their hair in I Am Legend. And then we discovered that this has to do with the cutting of the sheep, the shearing of the sheep. Now, the Bible says that sheep sit silent as their wool is sheared off. That's actually in the Bible. I couldn't even believe it. So then I thought to myself, that must be where the film Silence of the Lambs came from. The lambs sitting silent while they are being sheared. And then, of course, all the other spiritual and biblical connections of hair representing strength. Samson having his hair sheared off and losing his strength. There's also passages in the Bible about baldness in a basically a ritual of humility. And this goes on and on and on. It's pretty fascinating, this whole baldness meme that we discovered. And then we found out that this goes all the way back to ancient Rome. And Artemis, who is found under a willow tree next to two brothers, one of them named Alopicus, which sounds like alopecia. So that's where the roots of all of this came from. That's where it all came from, ancient Rome. And of course, it's mockery that's rivaling God's word and trying to attach darkness to it. And so anytime you see this new trend of, people shaving, I'm talking mostly these women that are shaving their heads, there's something very dark about that. Very, very dark. Now, I'll let you do the rest of the research on that, but now that you have the groundwork for all of the research that we've done on this, now you'll be able to understand the symbolism as it emerges and as it repeats in mainstream media and television and films. Because there's something really here. And you're going to see that today. I'm going to demonstrate that to you today with this film, Velvet Buzzsaw. Now, it's good to see everyone starting to filter in. I wanted to just give a little bit of a background to the research, get you guys all caught up before we get into this. Now, this film was pre-Vidco. It was pre-Vidco 19. So, I fully expected that there would be clues about the coming spam-demic that had not happened yet. And there absolutely were. We're going to break down a montage that I have here. Then after, I was going to do some between the headlines today after the decode, but we're going to wait, and I'll probably record something and upload it on the weekend because I just want to give this decode its own space so that you can focus on this and understand that the meme is continuing here. Now, this film is set in the art world when this woman discovers a very dark collection from an artist who had just died. And apparently his work was cursed. He had all these pieces, thousands and thousands of portraits and pictures that he had painted, and they were cursed. And they had the ability to enter the mind of anybody who viewed the artwork. making the work some of the most desirable and sought after collection in art history. The work actually has the power to draw people towards it, though they're willing to pay any amount of money for it. And that's the backdrop of this film, The Velvet Buzzsaw. Now, Jake Gyllenhaal's in this film. He's done a lot of occult films that we've decoded in the past. And so I expected to see a lot of stuff going on here. Now, as you can see here, this was about a year before the spam-demic started. And wait until you see this. Now, as these paintings begin to sell for millions of dollars, the secret of the artist's dark origins begin to emerge. Basically, he ended up killing his abusive father, and then after that he was injected with syringes while spending over a decade in an insane asylum. What is the artist's name? Are you ready for this? Remember, this is pre-VidCo 19. The artist's name, let's go to the plot here so you guys can see this, is Vitral DEASE. I can't even say it without saying disease. Vitral disease, which sounds like viral disease, doesn't it? Vitral disease, viral disease. Now, the paintings actually infect the people who come into close proximity to them. And now you're starting to see the connection here. DEASE gets the shot, and then the shot gets you once you view his paintings. Now, soon after, the paintings start killing all those involved in the sale. Anyone that comes in contact with these paintings start getting knocked off one by one. They even find out that DEASE used his own blood in the paint. And that, to me, that's a confirmation that DEASE really means disease. Now, this film is actually pretty lame. I didn't really like watching it. It's full of themes that turn my stomach personally. So I'm going to spare you all the gory details. I'm going to show you any of this, crazy stuff. But I had to decode this so you can see that the stuff that we've already covered comes full circle back around in this film. Let's start.
DEASE disappears for 3 decades, vanishing like a ghost. He suddenly resurfaces on the payroll of the Sawtell Veterans Administration like a ghost. He suddenly resurfaces on the payroll of the Sawtell Veterans vanishing like a ghost.
Sawtell Veterans Hospital. This is where DEASE worked for 42 years. And of course, Sawtell is Buzzsaw. Remember Sawkill Marsh in New York? Which is what Jackie Kennedy Onassis Lake was formed out of. It was formed out of Sawkill Marsh. And it's at the center of a giant syringe with the needle tip being the One World Trade Tower. Now you're starting to wake up. Keep watching.
Suddenly resurfaces on the payroll of the Sawtell Veterans Administration, where he was employed as a janitor for 42 years.
So Jake Gyllenhaal goes to the veterans, whatever it was, hospital or something, where DEASE used to work. And basically, Jake Gyllenhaal plays this prominent art critic who begins to realize that these paintings are possessed and that the people dying all around him is because of these possessed paintings. And he tries to dig into the artist's past, to DEASE's past, to find out why. He finds the old building, Sawtell Veterans Hospital.
I'm here researching Vitral DEASE. I'm writing a book about him. Good to see you there. Hi, I'm Morph Vanderwalt.
Look, I have nothing more to say. You can tell that other damn fella that too.
Who?
Yeah.
So, more confirmation here as Jake Gyllenhaal's trying to track down who else is trying to find this artist. And of course, it's Ray Ruskin Spear. So there's the spear again. That's the needle. It's the jab. Ruskin Spear. The serpent in the chest. Now, Jake Gyllenhaal played in another role in Donnie Darko, and he said that time travel was like a spear or an arrow coming out of your chest. Remember that?
The facility used inmates for medical experiments. DEASE spent 2 decades in a psychiatric hospital for the criminally insane. They were human guinea pigs. Injections, shocks, God knows where else. Medical experiments.
Injections, and there you see the needles that we've been finding all over the world in the landscape, in the architecture, from the aerial view. From the aerial view before there were even airplanes flying in the air to see the aerial view, there are alignments of giant hypodermic needles, which were invented in the 1860s and first used in the Civil War. The hollow needle, the reed, the syringes, Pan's pipes, Artemis. Can't make it up, you guys. Artemis, was it Artemis that got turned into reeds? Hollow reeds? Or maybe that was a different goddess. Let's keep watching here.
Shocks, God knows where else. DEASE got released when the courts closed it.
So you just heard the backstory of how DEASE went insane and how DEASE basically became the disease. The disease is the possession. That's the disease. Do you get it now? DEASE is possessed with the syringe, the syringes, Pan's pipes. Then he passes it on to anybody who views the paintings. Now, this next scene is more confirmation as a bus passes by Jake Gyllenhaal and he sees his dead friend on the side of the bus, but of course he's seeing just a spirit of her or whatever. And you see the as above, so below. And of course, you also see the giant Eiffel Tower needle. Now, we went into Google Earth a couple shows ago, and we found that this Eiffel Tower does in fact form a syringe, a hypodermic needle. It was for a World's Fair where they had a beheaded Statue of Liberty on display before it ever came to America. How do you think that head gets cut off? A buzzsaw. Is that what's coming? Is that what these guillotines are going to be? Buzzsaws? I don't know. But what we also found was at that World's Fair that this Eiffel Tower forms the point of another syringe or needle in the landscape. And you'll have to look at that video. Maybe I'll link it in the pinned comment if you haven't seen it. But this is crazy. So he sees this image of his friend on the side of this bus with her arm cut off because her arm got cut off by a sphere. She stuck it into that sphere and it got chopped off. Then the image changes, but as you see here, it says mirrors. Now, it sounds like mirror to me, and I don't know what this mirrors is in French, but it sounds like mirror. And then here you see the as above, so below, the reflection of people in the ground in front of the Eiffel Tower. And on the back of the bus, it says the number 88, which is time and space. Now, maybe to make the show complete, we'll go into Google Earth and look at the hypodermic needle at the Eiffel Tower. Just so you can see I'm not making this up. Now, all of my pictures got erased off of my hard drive, so we're going to have to probably redraw this. But as you can see, let's flip this around. This is the Eiffel Tower. And what you see here is the tip of the needle of the syringe. These are the fingers that hold the syringe. Let's fix this up a little bit so you guys can see this better. There's the Eiffel Tower. This is the place where the World's Fair actually took place. It took place many times in Paris, but in this particular year, this is when this structure was made. This is a maritime museum. And in the video, we actually put a syringe side by side, and it almost matched identically. Now, these syringe aerial views are all over the world in these major places. These old buildings. Now here you can see these are the fingers of the syringe. There's the base of it here. The ferrule is somewhere in here, which is a name of a part of a syringe. It's called a ferrule. And then you've got the plunger back here. Unbelievable. Let's keep going. Now, the final scene is what confirms the jabbing needles. Because what you're going to see next is a garden of cactus. Of course, cactuses are needles. They zoom in on the cactus because this is what was coming to the world, right? This is what was planned. They knew that there would be needles everywhere. Remember the movie Saw? Saw 2? There was a needle pit that also was pointing forward. Keep watching. Now, the bald cat comes up next to her so that it's confirmed that this really is about the shearing of hair, the shearing of the wool, the cutting off of your connection to the Most High. Look at the two shadows here. That's the two cactus, the two needles, the two shots. Let's back this up so you can see where that shadow is being cast from. Do you see them? These two cactus. That's the two needles. See them casting a shadow down here? You guys, I'm not making any of this up. This is very real. They knew what was coming in 2019. The two doses, right there in plain sight. The Gemini, the twins, because they knew who would administer it at warp speed. Two people, it almost looks like two people standing. The twinning, and this is what, basically it's trauma-based mind control, so it splits off your personality and turns you into two. It makes you possessible. The bald cat shows up. Then they zoom in as she's sitting right next to the bald cat in front of the two doses. They zoom into the back of her neck and you see a Buzzsaw tattoo. Now, of course, this is covering the image of Christ in our flesh, in the back of the neck, right in this area. There is an image that looks like a crucified Christ, formed by the rear brain and the spinal cord. So this is really about cutting away or severing us from the Holy Spirit, isn't it? And allowing the darkness to come in, allowing the splitting of the person. As she's sitting next to the bald cat, confirming that the buzzsaw is about the shearing of the hair and the shearing of the sheep, isn't it? Now, of course, we also have the tattoo aspect to all this. Remember the decode we did on the X-Files episode where Scully goes in and gets a tattoo, and the tattoo starts talking to her, and the tattoo is of an Ouroboros, isn't it? Which is probably what's at the core of this image. It's a serpent with the what do they call those on the back of a snake that sticks up like a fin going in a circle? That's probably what this means at its core. This is an Ouroboros, covering the image of Christ. Now, tattoos are marks, aren't they? As we decoded in the X-Files episode, the tattoo represents a mark. Remember, it was blue. Remember that? Well, you can count how many teeth are on this buzzsaw. And some of you probably already have. How many teeth do you see on this buzzsaw? Let's go back to the chat. How many teeth are on the buzzsaw? Let's see who gets it first. I kind of clicked off the picture, but hopefully it's still playing here. Nope. Let me help you guys out. Let's go back to it. How many teeth are on the buzzsaw? All right. Oh, let's count them. Let's start with this one. See how it's a little bit fatter? Let's start with this one. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. 6 and 6 and 6 teeth on the buzzsaw. Now, we wouldn't expect anything different, right? In a movie like this. But this is crazy. Now, this scene cuts directly away from this bald cat to a fluffy cat. So, that's the juxtaposition. Bald versus fluffy. A sheared cat versus a full-haired cat.
DEASE disappears for...
Now, understand that... Whoops. Let's put that back over here. Sorry, guys. Understand that in 2022, a film like Velvet Buzzsaw is pretty much was mainstream light horror. I mean, this was nothing like too crazy. But for our eyes, of course, understanding the symbolism, this seems very dark, doesn't it? But hopefully anybody out there who sees this decode and sees the synchronicities and the connections that we've made from start to finish, that we've called the very things that we've called out as symbolism keep repeating, don't they? And hopefully people who watch this kind of stuff as mainstream content can begin to wake up to the truth. That these Hollywood films are encoded with an agenda, aren't they? They're encoded with the devil's script. Yes, unfortunately, the sad, fluffy cat is in a cage. Exactly, Deb. You guys are wide awake. Wide awake. And that has spiritual significance that the fluffy cat is in the cage, in the little kennel. Now, CNN actually calls this film haunted art. This is the haunted art scene. And they talk about Velvet Buzzsaw here. Here you could see the sphere sculpture from the film. I didn't show you that scene because it's pretty gross. She sticks her arm in and gets cut off. And blood starts spewing out of all the holes. But look at this. They talk about this scene. And this reminds me of something, doesn't it? Some of the artwork collected by the DC elite. Like Joe Pesta and his brother. Remember the creepy artwork they had? Full of children in questionable situations? And here's my question. Why aren't these kind of fetishes, why aren't they considered the new domestic threat? You know, we go after people who have Confederate flags or Yahtzee symbols that they happen to have tattooed on their body from a long time ago, who haven't really done anything wrong, and I'm not condoning that people go do that. But I'm saying that we spend an awful lot of time worrying about people that haven't done anything wrong just because of the symbols that they have in their life, right? And why don't we go after people who put art in their homes of children like this? And it's because we live in a backwards world, don't we? Look at this creepy picture. Now, this painting is not from the film, but it's an example given in this this article on CNN about what they call haunted art. Look when this came out. Lupercalia, February 13th. The Lupercalia cult of sacrifice. So here you got children standing in front of the devil, obviously. And the devil has no clothes on. He's got a little boo-boo baba hanging down there. And his horns in front of the children as they play. This is creepy. Very, very creepy. So, weird times, you guys. Weird times that we live in. Remember the children with all their feet beaten with a cane? They were all red. Remember that artwork? And all look how creepy this is. All these children trapped in here. Unbelievable. So, backwards world, isn't it? Now, I don't recommend watching this movie. It's one of those movies that stuff can pop out of the screen and mess with your head if you don't have your spiritual armor on. So I wouldn't recommend watching it. So I pretty much just decoded it for you so you could see the symbolism coming full circle and see exactly what they probably and likely have in store for us. Let's go into the chat for a little bit. See what you guys are up to. All right. Good morning. Now, I've told some of you guys the story of when I went to an art school, the California Summer State School for the Arts, CSSSA. Sounds like a snake, doesn't it? And this was part of a state program. Literally, the state government of California came up with money that they basically used to train children to try to retain some of the Hollywood talent in California, because at that time a lot of these studios were diversifying. They were going out to other states with lower tax bases and doing a lot of their filming in other states. And so California put together this children's program, and lo and behold, I've somehow found myself in this program in my 8th grade year of school. And it's because I had an art teacher. Looking back, it's so creepy how life goes, right? Looking back, there was an art teacher was the one that put me into this, the running to win a scholarship, because I was a poor kid at that time. And they put me into this scholarship. She put me into the scholarship. My art wasn't that good, you guys. In 8th grade, I look at some of the pieces that got me into it, into this art program. I actually had the newspaper, Lodi News Sentinel, came and took pictures of me and did an interview with me, and I'm holding up my artwork. You can look it up in the archives. Lodi News Sentinel. And I think to myself, why did all that happen to me? So I went to this, so I got this scholarship. It was a big deal. There was a luncheon. The senator came out to this luncheon. That's in the newspaper too, in the Stockton Record. And it was like a big deal. And then like all the scholarship recipients basically got honored with medallions. And then off we went to this summer school program in Valencia, California, at this art school. Now this art school is a renowned art school. Many huge artists and actors have come out of this school. Actors like Zac Efron came out of this school, and many, many others. But we were the first. It was the first year, the pilot program of this program. We had guys from Star Wars already leaking information about the new series. Remember the reboot that they did? They did 3 more films after the 80s. Well, they were talking about that and telling us about it. There was an animation program, which was the very beginnings of some of Pixar and all this. So here I found myself in this place, and it was a strange place. But here's why I'm telling you this story. I'm telling you this story because we got a letter weeks before the program started, weeks before my mother dropped me off. I think it was a 30-day program over the summer. And the letter said, do not bring clippers or buzzers. The children will not be allowed to cut their hair. And I thought to myself, that always bothered me. And I still actually have that letter that they sent home to us. And it says right there, no hair cutting tools allowed. And I remember by the end of it, all of us had like afros because we weren't allowed to cut our hair. And everything that we've just talked about today seems to fit right into that. What were they doing? Were they running experiments on us without us knowing? Were they monitoring us? Was there some kind of testing going on? I don't know. I don't remember any of that. But it was very, very weird nonetheless. And there was a spiritual energy in that place that I remember. You can look at the complex. In fact, let's look it up right now, since we're here. Let's go back to Google Earth. Let's see. Valencia Cal Arts, it's called now. Cal Arts. There we go. McBean Parkway, Valencia, California. I want to get an aerial of this to see if there's any weird images that emerge. Okay, just like how I remember it. Very strange. See what the main entrance is if I can remember. Gosh, that almost looks like a Baphomet, doesn't it? You guys getting the same impression? Any syringes in here? No, no syringes. I'm trying to remember where the entrance was. Here it is, right here. Who knows what was going on in this place? Let's go on the time machine here. Go back in time. 2002. 1994. All right. 1985. That's not a very good image. Anyway, there you go, you guys. Unbelievable. All right, you guys. Well, it's Friday. I'm gonna let you guys hop to it. Fridays are always light. We don't get as many people show up to the live shows, but I know you guys will catch it on the weekend. Zamgood says, I know they're probably still tracking you. Who knows? Who knows what's going on? You know, I would hope not. That'd be pretty creepy, right? But it's weird how our fight now is against these spiritual and satanic influences of Hollywood, isn't it? We're coming up against it with the Most High at our sails, guiding us to basically try to uncover and expose all this stuff, because this is deep spiritual sorcery, isn't it? Hollywood is responsible for everything bad happening in American culture. Lawlessness, immorality, and everything else that comes along with sinful things. It all comes from the top down. The agenda of the agenda, right? We can call it, and everything else wrong. And people soak this stuff up and it becomes their normal. The music and entertainment of Hollywood is what is guiding behavior in our country, whether you want to believe it or not. That is the root of all evil. And we've been tasked to expose it, haven't we? All right, you guys. I love you each and every one of you. I hope you guys have a great weekend. We'll do a headline show over the weekend. I've got some headlines pulled up here. And then there's a new series called... Oh, let me think of it. I've got so many things going on, you guys. Outer Range, it's called. It's about a guy who falls through a hole into an alternate reality out on his range. So we're going to break that down as well. And that'll probably be on Monday. Okay, you guys. I love you. Take care.